Merry Christmas, everybody. I hope that you are all having a blessed feast of the Nativity today, and that you are spending it with your friends and family where possible on this wonderful holiday. Regardless of your faith or your tradition, I certainly hope that it has been a good one so far. I had originally planned to have a more scripted Christmas address, but I thought with the wonderful weather and the fact that I live in the middle of nowhere, I would try something different and do something a little more impromptu for you all. Today, I thought about how important it is for us to be optimistic, even in the dreariest of times. I find so often that we can be easily drawn to the temptations of fetishizing our own decline and looking towards nothing more than the bleak abyss that Nietzsche warns about, that if we stare too long into it, it will certainly stare back at us. And on this wonderful holiday, the incarnation of our Lord Jesus Christ, I can't help but find myself trying to find the optimism in myself. After all, I think it was St. Paisios that had once said, "After all the things that I have seen on this earth, I would certainly have been going mad if I had not known that God gets the last word." And oftentimes, I go back to that quotation and remind myself that no matter what I see on Twitter, no matter what videos I see covering the latest atrocity or the world's worst aspects of the culture war, I certainly know that through my faith, I am comforted by the fact of what is to come. And with all of you, I know that we are certainly worried about what is to come into the future. Winter is only just begun, and many of us are concerned about the rising prices of fuel, especially with heating over to our friends across the pond in the merry old country of England, not to mention the continent. Many of us are trying our best to stay warm and to be with friends and family during this time. I was greatly warmed not too long ago by seeing a video that Dave Cullen had shared on Telegram. I wish I could tell you who the exact individual was, but he was going around town in the midst of the freezing cold temperatures, making sure that the elderly and those that lived alone were not alone, and making sure that they had tea, that they had some access to comfort, and to make sure that they weren't alone freezing or dealing with hypothermia in the midst of freezing temperatures well below 0 degrees Fahrenheit. And in those things, I can't help but find myself wondering, what more can we do for one another? What more can we do to call upon our friends and our countrymen to make sure that we ourselves, as well as our friends and family, are not caught up in the latest bit of demoralization and atomization? As it's often I've said before in various streams and videos, C.S. Lewis's abolition of man was only just the beginning. And with this present digital age of information and post-truth, oftentimes, so many people are looking towards the conclusion of the abolition of man, the atomization of man. This is something that we must resist at all times, and this is something that we constantly must struggle with ourselves, our friends, and our families, as well as our online communities. That we can look at the darkest bits of our society, take a look at what havoc and hell may come from us by transhumanists, progressives, globalists, whatever you may call them, and in turn realize that there are still things to be greatly appreciative of. One of my favorite videos of this year in 2022 was from Morgoth, the video and the band Played On, simply talking about this brass band playing about miners who had passed away and lost their lives decades ago in a small town not too far from him. In fact, I told them it moved me to tears, because despite everything that is going on, tradition still held out, no matter what had happened in our world and in our countries. And so this Christmas, I can't help but think to myself, how many of the traditions that we may have lost, how many things are still being called out as racist, bigoted, phobic, whatever, that we still adhere to, and the necessity to still adhere to them. Regardless of whatever you may believe in, regardless of how your faith may be expressed, today is truly a day for all of us to gather around and realize one of the greatest gifts that we can give to one another is our time. One of the greatest things that I have been working on throughout 2022 has been to encourage others to give that time to their friends and to take more time away from the online community and try and manifest it in real life. Whether that's basket weaving, constantly talking about digital deracination, or simply trying to focus on my own life here in the world, it has certainly been an ongoing struggle. I still do my best to make time for my friends. My church life is probably the biggest aspect of my life outside of work and this YouTube channel, and I can't help but think to myself, if I didn't have that, I would certainly go insane. We must do more to foster community and make sure that our fellow countrymen and our neighbors know that they are not alone. Regardless of whether you are living in a city, a suburb, or even out in the country in the woods like myself, I hope that you take the time in 2023, and you're continuing to take the time to reach out to those who need it the most. I know that times are incredibly difficult. Lord knows that we are all feeling it within our wallets, our energy bills, and surely, I'm sure, for the price of gas. All these things that come to my mind day in and day out, whether I'm scrolling on Twitter, talking to you in various group chats, or hearing from you all in various emails. One of the blessings that I have certainly appreciated since starting this YouTube channel and talking about international relations is the sheer number of you from outside the United States and even outside of Europe telling me about what life is like in your own respective countries. To hear from you and to hear about what life is like and the machinations of your own world and culture is not only enriching, but it certainly opens my perspective to understand the world around me and provide a better understanding when I give lectures on international relations and geopolitics. That is one gift I am certainly grateful for. And for as much as I've spent this year sort of bashing the online or being addicted to the internet, I think it's also important for us to realize that it is also a very great gift. I would not have met the various people that I've met this year if it wasn't for starting this channel, if it wasn't for starting and going out and being more politically inclined to offer my opinions online. I wouldn't have met so many of you. I got to meet Charlemagne and Turnip and so many others this year, and I've made so many friends through basket weaving. That in itself is a blessing to know that the people I interact with online on a day-to-day basis are people that I've met, shaken their hands, bought drinks for, and have simply been able to call them a friend. And that is one of the greatest things that they can't take away from us. We have friends, we have family, and we must take the time, especially on today of all days, to reach out to them and make sure that we're with them. I know that things are difficult, but we mustn't lose ourselves to the ever-growing abyss of culture, progress, and all things that seem to be saying that we're getting better, but it only happens to be the anathema of civilization. So as I wrap up these impromptu remarks on this wonderful Christmas day of 2022, I certainly hope that you are all staying strong, and I certainly hope that you are all with your friends and families, and with that, I wish you all a very Merry Christmas, a blessed feast of the Nativity, and stay strong out there. And do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow's evil is sufficient unto itself. We have today to look forward to, and we have a lot of work to do. God bless you, stay prudent, and I'll see you all in the next video. God bless.